Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Carter is enraged by Steffy and Daphne's plan. According to teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Carter Walton will be incensed about Steffy Forrester and Daphne Rose's Muriel Hilaire plot. Let's discuss the drama that lies ahead as it appears that Katie Logan, Heather Tom, may reveal the truth after eavesdropping. Katie will experience some significant events during the week of April 28 to May 2, and she will become defensive toward Carter. Since Carter's ex-girlfriend Katie still has feelings for him, she would see Daphne as a nuisance and want her to go. Rather, Daphne will kiss Carter once again and continue to try to persuade him to forget about Hope Logan, Annika Noel. Katie will not be pleased if she witnesses Daphne snatching a kiss from Carter. Katie will then hear something on B and B that strengthens her belief that Daphne should return to Paris. It turns out that although Daphne and Zend Forrester Dominguez believe they are having a private conversation, Katie will be eavesdropping close by. Katie will learn that Daphne has been lying to Carter the entire time and that she came to town at Steffy Forrester's, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, suggestion. Steffy wanted Daphne to separate Carter from Hope, persuade him to cede control, and position herself at Forrester Creations. Daphne came to Los Angeles specifically to play dirty with Steffy. Katie will corner Daphne by herself after overhearing this inappropriate talk. Katie is going to confront Daphne and force her to acknowledge that she has been influencing Carter against Steffy's wishes. Now that the Forresters are back on the throne, Daphne will undoubtedly claim that everything is finished. Katie won't keep quiet about Daphne's initial plan, even though she will defend her genuine love for Carter. Daphne's constant portrayal of Hope as a manipulator may lead Katie to believe that she is a hypocrite who should be punished for her actions. Katie will believe it's time for Carter to learn the truth because Daphne misled him more than Hope ever did. It appears that Katie will eventually reveal Daphne and Steffy's plot to Carter, who will undoubtedly be furious. After learning of this, Carter will undoubtedly feel deceived and might stop interacting with Daphne. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Katie will make some predictions regarding Daphne's return to Paris, so keep checking back for any updates on any potential departure news. Hope's brutal last rejection shreds Carter's heart. Following their failed corporate coup, Hope Logan gives Carter Walton a heartbreaking last rejection, leaving the once dominant COO shattered and without a way to turn his life around. After the Forrester coup disaster, Hope's soul-crushing rejection leaves the Carter devastated. Even worse than we anticipated, the tragic aftermath from Hope Logan and Carter Walton's botched corporate takeover has reached a deadly culmination. Hope offered a rejection so harsh that it may have been the most devastating blow Carter has ever experienced in an emotionally packed exchange that left viewers gripping their tissues. Carter's realization that everything was really over. Shall we go back to how we got here? Carter made a final, desperate attempt to save what remained of his relationship with Hope after their bold attempt to take over Forrester Creations failed horribly. Too little, too late, huh? The last straw? That pivotal moment when Hope pushed Carter to leave the company in solidarity with her during the Forrester Showdown. However, what did he do? Hesitated. Carter couldn't bring himself to end his long-standing ties with the Forresters, while Hope was prepared to sacrifice everything for their romance. That moment of hesitation spoke a lot. Hope was acutely aware that Carter would not give up everything for her. And there was no turning back once that awareness struck. Did the Carter listen to what Steffy and Ridge had to say? Do you recall how Ridge Forrester and Steffy Forrester Finnegan essentially pleaded with Carter to see the truth? They frequently cautioned him that Hope's sudden interest coincided with his ascent to prominence at Forrester. Did he pay attention, though? No. They informed him, Hope is using you as a means to an end. Carter, however, disregarded their worries as only another part of the never-ending story of Forrester versus Logan. What he believed to be love completely blinded the man. Hope has now totally ruled out any chance of reunion, just as Steffy and Ridge had foreseen. Hope not only rejected Carter when he made a valiant attempt to put things back together, but she also crushed any hope he still had. She made it abundantly evident that their relationship was merely a byproduct of this corporate conflict, and she has absolutely no desire to start over. The disturbing emotional outburst. Remember the expression on Carter's face when he knew it was really over? Lawrence St. Victor gave an absolutely heart-stopping performance that made me want to cry. Carter had nothing left over after giving up everything he had, his ethics, his reputation, and his decades-long friendship with the Forresters. A ghost of his former self, the once dominant COO now prowls the corridors of Forrester Creations. Although the Forresters have kindly let him to remain employed, for the time being, he is effectively on probation and has no actual authority or influence. I'm not sure what else could be considered a fall from grace. Hope, however, isn't exactly doing well either. After Steffi terminated Hope for the future, she essentially ended her career at the corporation, leaving her professional life in ruins. The clothing brand she put her entire being into? Gone. Her standing on the field? Broken. What was her connection to Carter? Destroyed. For these star-crossed lovers, what's next? Will Carter be able to make amends with the Forresters in the end? Though it won't be simple, it is feasible. Ridge made it very clear that if Carter crosses the line once more, there will be no second chances. Hope has entirely cut off contact with Carter, but I have a feeling she may change her mind about her severe rejection. Who would she turn to when she most needs help, given her ruined career and growing personal problems? When the dust settles, is there any chance that these two will find their way back to one another? Never say never, in typical soap opera form, but at the moment, the prospect seems as far-fetched as Sheila Carter taking home a Mother of the Year honor. There is no doubt that Forrester Creations' hallways will be shaken for weeks by the emotional fallout from this devastating rejection and spectacular business takeover. And every dramatic moment will be watched by me, personally. Carter Walton didn't anticipate it. Carter thought he had secured a future with Hope Logan after supporting her for months, through power battles, family conflict, and every test imaginable. He thought loyalty would prevail. However, he misjudged Hope's determination, her increasing self-awareness, and most importantly, her heartache. Something inside Hope exploded as she realized Carter had put ambition ahead of trust. After everything, she was aware that she couldn't forgive him this time. Hope, with a heavy heart, silenced Carter so completely, so firmly, that even the ever-stout legal hawk could not speak. At Forrester Creations, two professionals were tying up loose ends when their final talk began. However, a storm was building beneath Hope's courteous tone. Carter attempted to defuse the situation by claiming that he had only acted in the company's best interests and that he was considering the future, Hope, and the Forresters. But Hope was able to see through him. For her, it was now about love, loyalty, and trust rather than just commerce. Carter was quick to undermine the vision she battled for, so how could he say he cared about her or what they were creating? Knowing that the Forresters intended to destroy Hope for the future, how could he support them? Carter made a strong argument, but Hope didn't listen. It was time to defend herself because she had put the needs of others above her own for far too long. Hope told Carter it was over, calm but firm. Over permanently, over personally, and over professionally. No matter how he attempted to defend it, she made it plain that his treachery had ruined any possibility of trust between them. Hope's eyes were filled with pain, yet her voice hardly faltered as she described her disappointment. There was no recovering from the fact that Carter had crushed her soul. For the first time in a long time, Carter had no control over the situation. Hope resisted his attempt to take her hand. Any illusions he had were destroyed by that simple gesture, that rejection. Once teeming with potential, the room now felt cold and impersonal. Without hesitation, Hope laid out her next course of action. Carter would no longer be a part of her struggle for her line. She didn't trust him, she didn't need him, and she most definitely didn't want to spend the rest of her life with someone who believed that betrayal could be forgiven. As Hope left the office with the quiet dignity that had always distinguished her, rather than with rage, Carter sat there in disbelief. The door was not slammed by her. She refrained from making allegations. She merely walked away, leaving Carter to bear the consequences of his loss. Carter made an effort to get in touch as the days went by. She never responded to the texts he sent her. When she was conveniently too busy to attend meetings, he turned up. He knocked on several doors, but they were all closed. Carter was devastated by Hope's decision, but he had no choice but to accept it. Hope, meanwhile, immersed herself into reviving her profession and life. She discovered a fresh clarity and a sharper focus without the weight of Carter's support, or betrayal, to burden her. At Forrester Creations, she began taking risks, forming unexpected alliances, and gradually getting back on her feet. She was thriving, not simply getting by. Additionally, each win she achieved without Carter's assistance conveyed an implicit message: she was better off without him. Rumors began to circulate back at Forrester. While some felt Carter had received what he deserved, others felt sorry for him. Hope's mother, Brooke Logan, who was extremely protective, showed her joy at seeing Carter cut off. Even though Ridge Forrester was still divided between his business and family responsibilities, he had to admit that Carter's job at the company was in jeopardy. Furthermore, Steffy Forrester, who had long doubted Carter's genuine allegiances, now publicly questioned whether he could be trusted with anything significant going forward. The repercussions went beyond the boundaries of the office. At social gatherings, Carter felt alone, and his once close friendships became tense. He tried to play both sides and ended up with neither, but he discovered this too late. Not only had he lost Hope, but he had also lost his reputation, his credibility, and his mental stability. Hope, however, was happy with her newfound freedom. She reconnected with old friends, spent more time with her kids, and even started to open her heart to the idea of finding a new love, someone who would support her without reservation or compromise. After years of heartache and manipulation, Hope finally put herself first, and many of the fans of The Bold and the Beautiful cheered her on. Support for Hope's choice to break off her relationship with Carter was abundant on message boards and comment sections. At last, Hope is making her own decision. One fan wrote, "Carter never deserved her loyalty if he couldn't return it," another person said. "Goodbye." Others, of course, questioned whether Carter would somehow turn his life around. Would he ever be able to win Hope back? Or was this really it? Hope's response was unambiguous for the time being: she was done with Carter. No regrets. No second chances. Don't turn around. Relationships in the world of The Bold and the Beautiful are frequently chaotic, intricate, and always changing. Hope Logan's clarity, however, was a light in this moment. She refused to accept anything less since she was aware of her value. Hope had made her decision, and Carter Walton, despite his charm and legal knowledge, had made his. What does the future hold? Time will tell. However, one thing is certain: Hope Logan is no longer waiting for excuses. She is advancing with greater strength and intelligence than before. What about Carter? He will simply have to live with the memory of the woman he allowed to leave him. Everyone on The Bold and the Beautiful is in shock over Liam Spencer's shocking brain tumor diagnosis, which has sent shockwaves through Los Angeles. The lives of the Forresters, Spencers, and Logans have been irrevocably changed by what began as a few headaches and dizziness episodes and has now fully untangled the complex web of rivalries, connections, and regrets. Liam is at the heart of it all, struggling with the terrifying realization that his time may be running out. His loved ones undergo a startling metamorphosis as the truth of his illness becomes more apparent. Estranged couples are re-evaluating unexplored avenues, and once aggressive rivals are now finding common ground. Once the most fiery rivalry in town, Hope and Steffi's enmity has cooled into something nearly unrecognizable, an awkward friendship born of shared worry for Liam and Kelly. The days of mocking comments and envious stares are over. Instead, there are silent discussions, lingering sympathetic glances, and a profound, mutual anguish that neither lady can deny. Following Liam's numerous betrayals, Hope had been attempting to put some distance between them, but now she finds herself attracted back to him, her heart bleeding in ways she never imagined possible. He reminds her of the man she once dreamed of and thought he could be because of his fragility. Steffi, on the other hand, feels a strong bond with the guy who gave her Kelly, even though she loves Finn and wants to keep her family safe. Liam's condition brings up a plethora of memories that Steffi had attempted to suppress, some of which were painful and some of which were priceless. Her barriers start to come down as she sees him struggle with everything he has left. Steffy rekindles thoughts she had believed she had put aside forever when she declares in a moment of intense emotion that she will always be there for Liam. However, the worlds of others are also being upended, not only Hope and Steffy. Viewing Liam's situation as both a tragedy and an opportunity, Brooke Logan, who is fiercely protective of her daughter, has gone into full maternal mode. Ever the manipulator when it comes to her family's happiness, Brooke starts pressuring Hope toward Liam once more in the hopes that devotion and love would mend past hurts. But not everyone agrees with her approach, and her desperation has not gone ignored. Frustrated by Brooke's interference, Ridge cautions her to let Hope make her own decisions. The strain of witnessing Liam's decline and the friction between Ridge and Brooke further exacerbate an already unstable situation. Finn is battling his own inner demons in the meantime. Although he feels a great deal of responsibility for Liam's health as his doctor, he struggles with anxiety and envy as Steffy's husband. Even while Finn tells himself that Steffy is just being kind, every loving glance Steffy gives Liam pierces Finn like a knife. There will be periods of severe confrontation between him and Steffy as his insecurities threaten to explode. Once neat and in control, Finn's world now seems to be spinning out of control, making him doubt not only his marriage but even his own heart. Surprisingly, Hope finds a silent source of strength in Deacon Sharp. Deacon, who was formerly the family's black sheep, unexpectedly stands up and provides his daughter with constant care when she is most in need. As she battles to manage her complex feelings, his reintroduced presence in her life proves essential. In a startling turn of events, Deacon's devotion and sincerity make Brooke somewhat softer toward him, suggesting that they may be able to make amends or at the very least, establish a tenuous ceasefire. However, Hope's own growth may be the most astonishing. For a very long time, Hope's identity was entwined with her relationships, whether they were with Thomas, Liam, or even the constant threat of Steffy. Now that she is confronted with the prospect of losing Liam permanently, Hope changes drastically. She starts to realize that struggling for morsels of affection or clinging to a man are not signs of true strength. Rather, it comes from being independent, appreciating what she has while becoming ready for whatever lies ahead. As Hope observes Liam courageously face his mortality, she is motivated to take back her autonomy and change her destiny. It's not the end of the drama. Liam collapses at a contentious family meeting at Forrester Creations, frightening everyone and causing a panic. Steffy holds Liam in her arms while Ridge and Brooke rush to dial 911. Saying consoling things that Hope can hardly bear to hear. Everyone is forced to face the harsh, unavoidable reality of the scene. Liam is not unbeatable, and time is running short. Nevertheless, Liam's spirit remains evident despite this situation. He is determined to make the most of his remaining time and urges Hope and Steffy to reconcile for the benefit of their kids, refusing to indulge in self-pity. Both those in attendance and the people watching at home are left speechless by this intense, gut-wrenching moment. Something that had all but died inside Hope is rekindled by Liam's courage and selflessness. All of a sudden, the old grudges and trivial arguments seem pointless. Forgiveness, love, and living each moment to the fullest are what are important now. Liam's condition varies in the weeks that follow, with severe setbacks interspersed with fleeting moments of hope. Hope stays by his side the entire time, her devotion unflinching. Even though her marriage to Finn is becoming more and more stressful, Steffy also remains a rock. Their mutual love for Liam transcends antagonism, and the love triangle that once split them apart now holds them together. Will a miracle save Liam in the end, or will the bold and the beautiful really dare to say goodbye to one of its most cherished characters? Fans are left wondering as the tale roars into an agonizing climax. And what will happen to Liam, Hope, and Steffy in the event that he survives? There is no denying that Liam Spencer's illness has permanently altered Los Angeles. Unexpected alliances have emerged, long-standing rivalries have cooled, and individuals we assumed we knew well are showing us new sides. In particular, Hope has seen remarkable growth as a result of Liam's illness, which has given her the confidence to take control of her life and redefine what it means to genuinely love someone. Hope Logan had always followed her gut, but recently she had been experiencing a persistent uneasiness that she found difficult to get rid of. Liam's lingering looks, the way his voice faltered while discussing the future, and the odd silences that appeared to last longer than usual were the first clues. Ever the optimist, Hope fervently hoped that Liam's assurances were sufficient and that everything will somehow turn out as it should. But she had a gut feeling that something wasn't quite right. Day by day, her suspicions became stronger, and no number of warm smiles or good words could completely dispel the darkness that hung over her heart. Sensing her discomfort, Liam did his utmost to reassure her. He assured her that they were resilient enough to face the difficulties that lay ahead and that love could withstand any storm, but Hope could hear the fear that was hidden deep inside of him even as he spoke. She was afraid. Even as her concerns became louder in her head, Hope clung to Liam's reassurance like a lifeline. He recalled all they had endured together, all the times they had stood by one another in the face of adversity. During their private time together, he would discreetly assure her that they still had hope for the future by reaching for her hand and giving it a firm squeeze. However, Hope couldn't help but question whether Liam was shielding her from a more profound reality that he was too scared to speak out about. Hope's doubts came from years of loving someone who had battled loss, temptation, and ambivalence. They weren't based on paranoia. Her thoughts went over the innumerable times Liam had wavered between her and Steffi, the painful betrayals, and the promises made and then shattered. Did she have any reason to believe that this time will be different? Liam's illness, a diagnosis that had placed a pall over their entire world, made everything even more challenging. Now it was nearly hard to keep the patient and the man apart. Hope worried that Liam was concealing more than just physical suffering. He was concealing emotional realities that may shatter them every time he faltered and gazed at her with troubled eyes. Nevertheless, Liam would draw her in close, meet her eyes, and whisper words of unfailing love whenever she expressed her worries. He would say, "We're going to be okay, Hope," with such certainty that she felt both comfort and fear. Hope would allow herself to believe it for a moment since his encouragement was so sincere and honest. Hope, however, was aware that without honesty, love was insufficient. No matter how unpleasant it might be, she wanted the truth. She started observing Liam more intently, dissecting every exchange of words. When she brought up long-term intentions, she saw how he rapidly shifted the topic and dismissed serious conversations about the future. This time, her doubts weren't limited to another woman. They also included whether Liam was honestly facing the truth about his illness or trying to protect her feelings by keeping the worst from her. When it came to things of the heart, Hope found herself confiding in her mother, Brooke, whose intuition had always been incredibly keen. Hope was advised to trust herself by Brooke, who was extremely protective of her daughter. With a tone full of parental worry, Brooke counseled, "If something feels off, sweetheart, you have to trust that feeling." Hope nodded, feeling even more perplexed. Although she had a deep and abiding love for Liam, she was afraid that their relationship was based on lies and that it might fall apart at any time. Liam's support was simultaneously a source of strength and suffering. His faith in their relationship was contagious, and he truly thought they could conquer anything. Hope desperately wanted to overcome her worries and live completely in the moment, to match his optimism with her own. Little things like Liam laughing with Kelly, the way he gazed at her when he thought she wasn't listening, and the softness of his touch as he brushed a lock of hair behind her ear were all examples of the beauty she started to notice. Though they were brief and brittle, these moments were precious because they provided Hope with something to cling to when her doubts threatened to overwhelm her. But not everyone in their immediate vicinity agreed that Liam's courageous exterior reflected the terrible reality of his illness. Ever the voice of medical reason, Finn cautioned Hope that Liam's future was far from guaranteed and that setbacks were possible. Ridge expressed his worries to Brooke as well, pointing out that although Liam had a strong spirit, his body was engaged in a conflict that it might not prevail in. Hope's doubts were only strengthened by these discussions. Was Liam attempting to protect her from a heartbreaking reality, or was he genuinely being honest with her? At one really touching point, Hope went up to Liam. She pleaded with him, tearfully, not to keep anything from her, no matter how horrible. Her vulnerability ultimately caused Liam to open out more than he had ever done before. In addition to dying, he also shared his anxieties of leaving her behind, of Kelly growing up without him, and of Hope suffering yet another terrible loss. He acknowledged that there were moments when his fear made it difficult for him to breathe. As he sobbed into her shoulder and felt her own heart break into 1,000 pieces, Hope held him close. Their bond was stronger than ever at that very time, and it was unadulterated and genuine. At that moment, Hope understood that her doubts were about a betrayal of faith in themselves rather than a violation of love. She and Liam had forgotten that vulnerability is the source of true strength since they had been working so hard to be strong for one another. Liam was trying to give them both hope in a bleak position, and his encouragement wasn't a lie, it was his means of surviving. For her part, Hope was aware that, despite facing the unknown, she needed to rely on that support. As the days went by, Hope and Liam developed a new kind of relationship based on promises of the present rather than of the future. They rejoiced over minor triumphs, such as Liam surviving a doctor's checkup without receiving any unfavorable news or a straightforward afternoon of laughter with Kelly. Hope discovered that she was savoring these moments more than ever before. Her suspicions didn't completely go away, but they changed into a strong will to fight for their time together. The outside world kept spinning around them in the meantime. Each of Steffy, Finn, Ridge, and Brooke had their own thoughts and anxieties about the future. But whenever Hope and Liam were together, the sounds of the outside world vanished. Even though the future was still uncertain, they clung to the delicate, lovely bubble of love and optimism they had created. Hope was aware that heartache could be unavoidable. She was aware that Liam might not be as long as they had hoped. However, she also understood that even in the face of unfathomable loss, love, true, unconditional love, was worth fighting for. Though it wasn't an easy path, Hope's journey from distrust to acceptance showed her a level of strength and resilience she wasn't aware she had. Her steadfast faith in him, even when he found it difficult to trust in himself, gave Liam comfort. With open hearts and a fierce resolve to cherish every moment they were given, they tackled each new day together. Hope's doubts ultimately salvaged their relationship rather than ruining it. She had given Liam the strength to face his own demons by facing her fears and pursuing the truth. And Hope found her inner strength again with Liam's unwavering support. Hope understood that the greatest victory of all was that they would confront whatever was ahead together.